The year was 1943. The world was engulfed in the relentless storm of war. Across the skies of Europe, Asia, and the Pacific, countless aircraft clawed at the clouds, each one a fleeting ghost in a sky that had become a battlefield. The roar of engines, the staccato rattle of machine guns, and the sudden flash of tracer rounds painted the heavens with chaos. Smoke trails, black as sin, slashed across the sunlight, marking the demise of those who dared to challenge the air. Below, cities and towns trembled under the echoes of distant explosions, their streets empty, their walls scarred. Yet above it all, a singular, terrifying beauty dominated the skies: fighter aircraft, sleek, deadly, precise. They were the hunters, born from steel, fire, and human ingenuity, chasing each other in deadly ballet with stakes higher than life itself. Every pilot who climbed into the cockpit knew the truth. One wrong turn, one misjudged maneuver, and the sky would claim them. Amid this chaos, some aircraft rose above the rest, not merely in speed, agility, or firepower, but in their ability to tally the deadliest numbers, the kill counts that would etch their names into the history of aerial warfare. These machines were the apex predators of the Second World War, turning the vast expanse of sky into a stage for unmatched precision, courage, and raw, unforgiving power. This is the story of those fighters, machines that defined dominance in the air, pilots who danced on the edge of death, and battles that changed the course of history. Here, we look at the fighter aircraft that achieved the maximum kill count, the silent rulers of war who painted the skies with victory, and death among the countless aircraft that tore through the skies of the Second World War. One fighter stood apart, not merely as a machine of war, but as an instrument of near-mythical precision and lethality. The Messerschmitt Bf 109 was a marvel of engineering, a creation born from a time when nations poured their ingenuity, ambition, and desperation into every rivet and curve of the machines that would dominate the heavens. In the early years of the war, as Europe became a vast, turbulent canvas of conflict, the Bf 109 emerged not as a silent participant but as a commanding force, its very silhouette a promise of speed, firepower, and deadly inevitability. From the moment it appeared on the horizon, other aircraft, whether allied or neutral, instinctively recognized the shape that had become synonymous with airborne domination. Sleek, sharply angled, and perfectly aerodynamic, its fuselage seemed to slice through the air itself, glinting under the sun with a polished menace that spoke of engineering and ambition fused into a single lethal entity. Pilots who climbed into its cockpit knew they were stepping into a machine that demanded respect, skill, and absolute focus. The Bf 109 was unforgiving to the untrained, punishing mistakes with merciless efficiency. Yet in the hands of a skilled Luftwaffe ace, it became an extension of the pilot's will, an instrument capable of reshaping the sky's landscape with each sortie. The roar of its Daimler-Benz engine was not merely noise, it was a herald of destruction, a sound that preceded the flash of machine gun fire and the dark ribbons of smoke that marked the demise of its victims. Dogfights became a deadly ballet, with the Bf 109 cutting arcs through the sky, banking sharply, diving with calculated precision, and climbing with astonishing speed. It was an aircraft that demanded total mastery, but in return, it offered unmatched performance that allowed pilots to outmaneuver, outpace, and outgun almost any opponent they faced. The history of the Bf 109's engagements reads like a chronicle of dominance, from the sun-scorched sands of North Africa to the icy peaks of the Alps, from the wide-open plains of Eastern Europe to the storm-lashed skies of the Western Front. Each theater presented unique challenges, and yet the Bf 109 adapted, proving itself capable across the most diverse combat environments. In North Africa, it became a hunter in a desert sky, its polished wings gleaming under relentless sunlight as it pursued enemy aircraft across endless dunes. Pilots became intimately familiar with the way the sun reflected off its nose, the slight vibrations of the engine under extreme heat, and the way the aircraft responded to sudden gusts of desert wind. Engagements were brutal and fast, and the Bf 109's ability to climb rapidly or dive out of danger allowed it to dominate dogfights against less agile adversaries. It became the predator of the desert skies, feared by Allied pilots who knew that encountering it often meant a fight for survival that rarely ended in their favor. In Europe, amid forests, rivers, and sprawling cities, the Bf 109's prowess only intensified. The aircraft's maneuverability allowed it to weave through the complicated geography below, turning narrow valleys, river bends, and forested hills into strategic advantages. Its guns, twin machine guns mounted above the engine cowling and the potent 20mm cannon firing through the propeller hub, could shred opposing aircraft with a precision that seemed almost mechanical, as though the plane itself had been endowed with an instinctive understanding of targeting and timing. Each sortie added to the growing legend of the aircraft, and each kill became a testament not only to the pilot's skill but to the engineering genius behind the machine. There were moments in the sky when a single Bf-109 could turn the tide of an aerial skirmish, its combination of acceleration, climb rate, and firepower leaving adversaries struggling to react. The psychological impact of the Bf-109 cannot be understated. Pilots of the opposing forces often spoke of it in terms that bordered on reverence, tinged with terror. The moment it appeared on the horizon, they felt a surge of dread, a recognition that this was not just another aircraft, but a machine honed for death, piloted by individuals trained to exploit every inch of its capability. Its shape became a symbol of fear. The slightly swept wings, the sharp nose, the tall tail fin that seemed to rise like a dagger in the sky. Allied pilots learned quickly that underestimating the Bf-109 could be fatal, that a single lapse in focus could result in their aircraft being shredded in seconds. Air battles were often over almost before they began, a blur of motion, noise, and smoke, leaving survivors to recount stories of evasive maneuvers, impossible climbs, and sudden dives that seemed to defy gravity itself. For the German Luftwaffe, the Bf-109 was more than just a plane. It was the backbone of aerial strategy, a critical component in the orchestration of campaigns across multiple fronts. Pilots trained for months, often years, to unlock its full potential, mastering not just the mechanics of flight but the mental acumen required to anticipate enemy movements and exploit weaknesses. Ace pilots became legends, their kill counts rising into double or even triple digits, each number a mark of dominance in the increasingly perilous skies of war. Historical accounts recount aerial duels where a single Bf-109 would engage multiple enemy aircraft, slipping between enemy fire, targeting the most vulnerable, and disappearing before retaliation could be mounted. These encounters, though harrowing, showcased the unmatched agility, speed, and firepower of the aircraft, and cemented its reputation as a supreme weapon of aerial combat. Yet, the Bf-109 was not invincible. Its very strengths required a level of skill that few could master, and even the most experienced pilots faced the ever-present specter of danger. Mechanical failure, unexpected maneuvers from the enemy, or simple misjudgment could turn a moment of triumph into catastrophe. Despite these risks, the aircraft's performance ensured that when in capable hands, it remained the deadliest fighter in the sky, a relentless predator that turned war into a contest of skill, nerve, and timing. Its kill count became more than statistics. It became a story of precision, fearlessness, and the terrifying effectiveness of machine and man working in perfect, deadly harmony. The Bf-109's legacy was written not only in the skies it dominated but in the fear it instilled, the victories it achieved, and the pilots it enabled to leave their mark on history. In a war defined by movement, strategy, and innovation, this aircraft was a constant, a measure of aerial supremacy and a symbol of how engineering excellence, combined with human courage and determination, could shape the outcome of battles and define the very nature of war itself. Its kill count was staggering, a testament to its efficiency and the skill of those who piloted it. Even decades later, when the roar of engines has long faded from the skies, the Bf-109's shadow lingers over history as a reminder of what it meant to dominate the air in the most violent conflict the world had ever known. On the vast, frozen expanses of the Eastern Front, where winter winds cut like blades and the ground itself seemed to rise in defiance against the armies that crossed it, another fighter aircraft carved its legend into the annals of aerial warfare, the Yakovlev Yak-3. Unlike the sleek and deadly Messerschmitt Bf-109, which inspired fear with its sheer presence and aggressive engineering, the Yak-3 was a study in nimbleness, cunning, and deceptive power. It was small, almost fragile in appearance, its frame seemingly delicate when compared to the bulky silhouettes of its contemporaries. Yet beneath that unassuming exterior lay an aircraft designed to exploit every advantage of the pilot's skill, to turn the chaotic, snow-laden skies of Eastern Europe into a theater where the Soviet Air Force could achieve dominance against overwhelming odds. Every curve of its fuselage, every rivet and panel, was calculated for agility, allowing it to dart and weave with an almost predatory instinct, slipping between enemy aircraft like a shadow of steel lightning. Pilots who flew the Yak-3 quickly discovered that size did not equate to weakness. In fact, its relatively small wingspan and light frame made it astonishingly responsive, able to twist, climb, and dive with a grace that seemed to defy physics. In the heat of combat, as tracer fire cut arcs across frozen rivers and snow-covered plains, the Yak-3 became a partner to the pilot, anticipating moves before they happened, responding with a fidelity that blurred the line between man and machine. Dogfights over villages, forests, and open fields often became mesmerizing displays of aerial ballet, where the Yak-3 slipped through enemy formations with pinpoint accuracy, engaging targets with a combination of daring and precision that few Axis pilots could counter. Its 20mm cannon and dual machine guns delivered a lethal punch, capable of ripping through fuselages, shattering wings, and sending adversaries spiraling toward the icy earth below. The kill count for this aircraft rose steadily, not merely as a testament to its design but to the extraordinary skill and courage of the pilots who tamed it in skies that were often as unforgiving as the war itself. The environments in which the Yak-3 operated were brutal. Winters on the Eastern Front were legendary for their severity. Temperatures plummeted to levels that froze instruments, stiffened control surfaces, and threatened both machine and pilot with the bite of frost. Snowstorms reduced visibility to a few meters, while sudden gusts of wind could send an unprepared aircraft careening toward the ground. Yet the Yak-3 thrived where other fighters struggled. Its light frame allowed it to maneuver in tight quarters, weaving between trees, over frozen lakes, and around craggy hilltops with a speed and accuracy that confounded enemy pilots. In this arena, the sky became both battlefield and protector, offering avenues of escape, attack, and tactical advantage for those who understood its patterns. Every sortie was a duel with not only enemy aircraft but with the elements themselves, and each victory added to the aura of inevitability surrounding the Yak-3 and its pilots. The psychological impact of facing a Yak-3 was profound. Axis pilots quickly learned that its small size and high speed made it a nearly impossible target. It appeared suddenly, fired with deadly efficiency, and vanished almost as quickly, leaving behind only smoke trails and shattered planes. The aircraft seemed to anticipate enemy moves, slipping through attacks and turning engagement to its advantage with uncanny skill. Veteran pilots described encounters with the Yak-3 in tones that mixed awe and terror, recounting how even the most disciplined formations were broken apart by a single agile fighter. Each engagement reinforced the legend of the Yak-3 as an aircraft that did not merely fight. It dominated, exploiting the environment, the element of surprise, and the mastery of its pilot to achieve kills that would ripple across the Eastern Front. The Yak-3's contribution to the air war extended beyond individual engagements. It was a key instrument in Soviet aerial strategy, providing a counterbalance to the Luftwaffe's experienced pilots and technologically advanced machines. While the Bf-109 relied on brute force and aggressive tactics, the Yak-3 relied on cunning, precision, and relentless adaptability. Pilots trained extensively in formations, evasive maneuvers, and tactical strikes, learning how to use their aircraft to maximum advantage in both offensive and defensive roles. Each successful sortie bolstered morale, both in the air and on the ground, as Soviet forces saw their pilots returning victorious, their aircraft scarred but their kill counts rising steadily. In this way, the Yak-3 became not only a weapon of war but a symbol of resilience, ingenuity, and the indomitable spirit of those who fought under the harshest conditions imaginable. Even in the heat of the largest battles, the Yak-3 proved its worth. From engagements over sprawling forests, where enemy fighters attempted ambushes under the cover of trees, to icy river crossings, where sudden maneuvers were necessary to avoid deadly anti-aircraft fire, the aircraft performed with remarkable consistency. Pilots learned to exploit its tight turning radius, rapid climb rate, and precise armament to engage multiple targets, often outmaneuvering aircraft that were larger, faster in a straight line, or more heavily armed. The kill count rose as aces learned the subtle art of timing, of lining up shots perfectly while anticipating enemy responses, turning seemingly desperate situations into decisive victories. Each encounter added to the Yak-3's reputation as a fighter that defied expectations, proving that in the hands of a skilled pilot, size was irrelevant, speed was paramount, and cunning could triumph over brute force. Beyond combat, the Yak-3's design reflected the ingenuity of Soviet engineering, balancing performance with efficiency, durability, and adaptability. Its lightweight construction allowed for exceptional agility, while the simple yet effective systems reduced maintenance requirements in the field, enabling pilots to return to combat quickly. Its small size also made it a difficult target, both in air-to-air combat and from ground-based anti-aircraft fire. These qualities combined to make the Yak-3 one of the most effective aircraft in terms of kills per sortie, an unassuming but deadly presence that could appear anywhere, strike decisively, and vanish before retaliation could be organized. Over time, its effectiveness accumulated into staggering totals, ensuring its place in history as one of the most lethal fighters of World War II. Yet the legend of the Yak-3 is inseparable from the pilots who mastered it. They were individuals of extraordinary skill and courage, trained to navigate the extremes of weather, terrain, and enemy tactics. They learned to push the aircraft to its limits, exploiting its responsiveness to achieve kills that often seemed improbable. Each pilot's story became intertwined with the aircraft's history, a tapestry of courage, determination, and relentless pursuit of superiority in the air. Together, plane and pilot became more than a weapon. They became an unstoppable force, dominating skies across one of the most brutal fronts in the history of warfare. The Yak-3's legacy endures not only in the records of kills and victories but in the myths and stories that continue to inspire awe decades after the last guns fell silent. It was an aircraft that redefined expectations of what a fighter could achieve, proving that innovation, skill, and relentless determination could triumph over sheer size, brute force, and technological intimidation. On frozen plains, over dense forests, and across the wide rivers of Eastern Europe, the Yak-3's victories became a symbol of resilience and precision, a reminder that in the crucible of war, brilliance often manifests in forms that appear modest but carry deadly potential. Its kill count was more than a number. It was the measure of a legend, a tribute to the pilots who danced through peril and emerged victorious, and a lasting testament to the indomitable spirit of the Eastern Front across the vast, sun-drenched expanses of the Pacific Ocean, where coral atolls rose like islands of defiance from an endless blue. Another fighter aircraft etched its legacy into the annals of World War II, the Grumman F6F Hellcat. Unlike the lithe and nimble Yak-3 or the razor-edged Messerschmitt Bf 109, the Hellcat was a study in rugged endurance, raw power, and the art of attrition. Born from a design philosophy that valued durability and reliability above all, it became the backbone of the U.S. Navy's aerial dominance in the Pacific theater. Its creation was driven by necessity, by the urgent demand to counter the experienced Japanese aces who had terrorized the skies in the early days of the war. Every rivet, every panel, and every curve of its massive fuselage was designed to absorb punishment, to push forward when lesser aircraft would falter, and to deliver a lethal combination of speed, firepower, and survivability. It was not merely a plane. It was a floating fortress in the sky, engineered to carry men and metal through battles that stretched across thousands of miles of ocean and countless ferocious encounters. Pilots who climbed into the Hellcat's cockpit knew immediately that they were in a fighter built for combat as much as for survival. The cockpit itself was spacious, functional, and fortified, giving the pilot both protection and visibility, a crucial advantage in dogfights that could erupt without warning above the endless Pacific horizon. The Hellcat's powerful Pratt & Whitney engine roared to life with a force that could shake the chest, propelling the aircraft with a confidence that demanded respect. Its 6.50 caliber Browning machine guns provided an unmatched volume of fire, capable of shredding enemy aircraft with terrifying efficiency. Unlike other fighters that relied on finesse, the Hellcat demanded aggression tempered with strategy, dive with force, climb with purpose, and engage decisively, for hesitation in these skies could be fatal. The combination of durability and firepower allowed U.S. Navy pilots to take the fight to the Japanese Zeros, to meet the agile opponents head-on with a balance of strength and speed that eventually shifted the balance of power across the Pacific. The Pacific theater presented unique challenges that tested both aircraft and pilot. Endless stretches of ocean offered no cover, no retreat, and no margin for error. Weather could change in an instant, turning calm skies into stormy chaos, with wind gusts strong enough to challenge the most skilled aviators. Yet the Hellcat excelled under these conditions, its rugged design and forgiving handling allowing pilots to push the aircraft to its limits without catastrophic failure. Over coral reefs, volcanic islands, and sun-scorched atolls, the Hellcat became the scourge of enemy forces, able to strike suddenly and vanish into the sky, leaving only trails of smoke, fire, and the wreckage of defeated aircraft. The kill count of the F6F rose not because of moments of cinematic heroics alone, but through consistent, relentless efficiency, a machine that could absorb damage, return to fight, and keep tallying victories while others faltered under the strain of extended combat. In aerial engagements, the Hellcat's advantages became starkly clear. While Japanese aircraft often boasted nimbleness and the ability to twist through tight turns, the Hellcat leveraged its superior speed in dives, its structural strength in sustained maneuvers, and the sheer volume of its firepower to dominate engagements. Dogfights over carrier groups, between the sun-bleached clouds and sparkling waves, often unfolded like carefully orchestrated ballets of destruction. Pilots learned to use altitude, sun positioning, and coordinated team tactics to gain the upper hand, transforming the vast, open sky into an arena where Hellcats reigned supreme. Enemy formations, despite their experience and skill, were often unable to counter the combination of aggression, resilience, and tactical ingenuity offered by the F6F. The psychological effect on both sides was profound. For U.S. pilots, the Hellcat instilled confidence, a sense that no matter how fierce the opposition, the aircraft could withstand damage, deliver decisive blows, and bring them home. For Japanese pilots, the Hellcat became a symbol of unavoidable reckoning, a relentless predator that would engage with precision, absorb punishment, and outlast them in combat. Accounts from returning airmen describe engagements where Hellcats, despite sustaining damage, would continue to press the fight, systematically breaking apart enemy formations, scoring multiple kills in a single sortie, and returning to their carriers battered but triumphant. These encounters demonstrated not only the aircraft's lethal capabilities but also the synergy between machine and pilot, where engineering excellence enabled human skill to achieve maximum effect. The Hellcat's impact extended far beyond individual dogfights. It became a critical instrument in the U.S. Navy's strategic plan to achieve air superiority in the Pacific. Carrier-based operations, often conducted hundreds of miles from the nearest land, relied heavily on aircraft that could take off under extreme conditions, engage the enemy effectively, and return safely with minimal loss. The Hellcat's durability was unmatched, able to withstand battle damage that would ground lesser aircraft, and its operational range allowed pilots to reach distant targets, support naval bombardments, and protect vital convoys. Its kill count was not merely a statistic, it was a tangible measure of strategic success, contributing directly to victories in campaigns that included the Solomon Islands, the Marianas, and the Philippines. Every successful sortie added to the legend of the Hellcat, transforming it from a tool of war into a symbol of persistence, resilience, and ultimate aerial supremacy. The Hellcat also played a defining role in the emergence of naval aviation as a decisive factor in World War II. Carrier warfare was still evolving, and the Pacific theater required fighters that could operate in demanding conditions, navigate unpredictable weather, and deliver decisive outcomes. The F6F excelled in every aspect, providing pilots with confidence and commanders with reliability. Pilots trained intensively to maximize its potential, learning the precise angles, speeds, and tactics necessary to exploit its strengths. Each engagement demonstrated not just the skill of the individual but the cumulative power of an aircraft designed to be both lethal and survivable. Its high kill count was a reflection of disciplined training, tactical innovation, and engineering genius converging in the harshest and most unforgiving theater of the war. The aircraft's reputation was solidified through countless legendary encounters. From morning sorties over calm seas to sudden ambushes above storm-tossed waters, the Hellcat proved consistently capable of emerging victorious. Pilots described moments of near-miraculous endurance, where bullets pierced wings and engines faltered yet the aircraft remained in the air, allowing them to return safely to carriers while still counting multiple enemy aircraft among their victories. Each successful sortie reinforced the notion that the Hellcat was more than a machine, it was a partner in survival, a reliable and deadly companion in a theater where the margin for error was razor thin, and the skies were dominated by chance, skill, and raw courage. Even after the war, the legacy of the F6F Hellcat remained indelible. Its influence shaped post-war naval aviation, its design principles informing generations of carrier-based aircraft. Veterans recounted the power, resilience, and lethal precision of the aircraft in ways that cemented its status as one of the most effective and deadly fighters of the Second World War. Its kill count stood not merely as a number, but as a testament to the pilots who mastered it, the engineers who designed it, and the strategic vision that recognized the need for a durable, formidable, and versatile fighter in one of history's most expansive and brutal theaters of war. The Hellcat's victories over the Pacific, across sunlit skies, storm-laden clouds, and endless oceans, remain a monument to human ingenuity, bravery, and the relentless drive to achieve supremacy in the air.